Hey everyone, so it's finally here, the ATEM micro panel, but what is it? What does it do? Is it worth the money? Here's my take on it and a quick run through of its features. So what is the ATEM micro panel? It is an external Bluetooth wireless control panel for the ATEM software on the computer. Now, what does this mean? This means that basically this can control any ATEM, be it one of these big production studios, a Constellation, or even the ATEM Minis. Now, why would you want to use it for an ATEM Mini? I'll get into that in a minute. So if you're already familiar with the ATEM control surfaces, be they the advanced panels or the all-in-ones, you know, the television studio range, this will seem very familiar to you because it's already got all the same buttons. So we have our fader, we have program and preview buses, we have keys we can put on, we have DSKs we can put on, we've got all of those sort of things, we can tie them, we can do all that sort of business, right? So we can do all the normal things that you would do with one of those control surfaces or television studios. The nice thing about this is that it can control multiple MEs. So if you've got a 2ME, 4ME control panel, you press these buttons to switch between them. And as you can see, let's just out of interest put that so you can see the difference between, this is a 2ME production studio 4K here. I'm switching now between the MEs. So again, you can have them totally differently set up and it will remember the difference. It's just switching between essentially the software in here. So you control up to 4 MEs with this one little panel. It's also got the preview trans button, which is quite useful for previewing your transition, if you don't know what that means. But the one thing that this is really, it's got a shift button as well, so you can have up to 20 inputs assigned. So this is a 20 input machine. I can get to all of the 20 inputs with this control surface. So that's really cool. It's not limiting in terms of what you're offering compared to one of those big panels. The nice thing this also has is this, which is the macro button. You press the macro button and suddenly these all go blue, and now you can control your macros directly from the control surface. I know some of the other surfaces have got macro control on as well. That's great. The fact that this has got it here means that that's instantly available, so that is worth it for a lot of people on its own, because that dispenses with your Stream Deck or whatever other controller you've got that would usually run your macros. Okay, so that's really cool. So yeah, so it does everything. It's even got sting and an arm button there, which some of the others don't have. As you can see, it's running Bluetooth completely wirelessly. You can plug it in via USB. So there we go, that's what it is and what it does. It controls everything on the screen via the ATEM software, so that's quite important. So you need to have the ATEM software running on a computer, this linked Bluetooth to it to make it work. Okay, great, so that works really nicely. What's the main advantage of that? Okay, so this then basically becomes a completely wireless controller for whatever ATEM production switcher you're running, and this could include an ATEM Mini. So let's say you're running an ATEM Mini in a room, you've got 4 cameras, few presenters, etc., and you've got 4 camera operators and floor manager, all that sort of stuff. Now, because the ATEM Minis are very small, you're always tempted to sit quite close and be there, but what about if you want to direct the action, right? So you've got your comms on, you're talking to your camera operators. If you speak too loudly, they're gonna hear you in the program feed and the microphones from the presenters. So what this enables you to do is take one Ethernet cable, or in fact a Wi-Fi connection if you've got a little router, take your computer and this control surface and you know, ideally a wireless production monitor or something, into another room, and you can be completely soundproofed. Make your gallery wherever you want it. You can shout as loudly to your camera people or floor managers or whatever as you like, and they won't hear you on the feed because you're now separated, physically separated from all the cables going in and out of here. So suddenly that becomes a very freeing idea, doesn't it? And then you can literally just pick this up, and as long as you've got a production monitor to see even just the output within vision, you can take this wherever you like and switch without being anywhere near the actual switcher itself. So I think that's a very interesting and useful idea. The other main reason I think this is brilliant and why I bought one initially is to control bigger switches without having to spend the $18,000 for the big multiple ME control surfaces, the advanced panels, right? With this, you don't need one of those, and this is only $700. Suddenly, you can control multiple MEs at a distance in a tiny little compact package, and you don't need the massive control surfaces. Of course, if you're doing a big TV show or you know, large-scale productions, the advanced panels are fantastic, and you get all the information you need on them. You get all the buttons and bits and pieces to hand that you need. All that is fantastically useful. For those of us who do larger scale productions less often, so we need the inputs, but we don't necessarily always need to see all of the buttons all at once. $700 versus $3,000 is quite a big difference, and suddenly this seems like an incredible bargain. Yeah, of course there's compromises, of course, but there's no reason why you can't separate the processes out. You can still, of course, run the software on multiple computers. So you could have somebody else driving the graphics, for example, or setting up your DSKs or working out your overlays, stuff like that. Somebody else could be doing that on another computer, leaving the vision mixer just with the job of vision mixing. All he needs here are to hand, and that is, I think, the biggest advantage of this little panel, and that is being able to control the big production switches right back to, as far as this is not a new one, these range between £1,000 and £2,000 second hand. It's a 20 input 4K vision switcher, and I only need a £700 control surface to have complete control over it. Both MEs, 4K, it's brilliant. And so those are the two main advantages I see to this control panel. The fact it becomes a completely wireless remote to enable your production to be switched independently of where the physical location of the switcher is, and to be able to control switchers like this without having to spend the enormous money on the advanced panels. So there we go, that's my take on the ATEM micro panel. I hope that's been useful. I'm tremendously enjoying the tactility of these buttons, which is just the same as on the great big switches and control surfaces. It feels really great, it feels really positive. Everything works exactly as it's meant to. It's instantaneous. I can't see any lag or delay whatsoever in when I cut between things on here. It just works brilliantly, and you know, if you're worried about the wireless, you can always plug it in. With this, you just need that and a laptop, and you can control any ATEM switcher at the distance of Wi-Fi or Ethernet cable. There we go, that's been my little rundown on the ATEM micro panel. Hope that was useful. Check out my other videos, and see you next time.